Hello and welcome, Rangers! I'm Joe. I couldn't resist that intro, and here's with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And we have, how do I put it? Another episode for shot analysis for you all. But before that, a word from our sponsor, which is us. We're our own sponsor now. We have a crowdfund and everything. It'll be in the comments. It's glorious. It's a great fantasy crowdfund. We helped edit for some of the best fantasy authors on Substack, and we are now in the big leagues. We're going to be editing and publishing, and we could use the financial support for it, but in return, you get one of our books. It's glorious. And one might almost say it's more phenomenal. And you also get an anthology from these other authors.
So go donate now.
Nice. Anyways, now for the real show, the fun part. All right, we got the scene. Rangers are sad. Zordon's despairing. And, of course, Alpha comes along. But in all seriousness, I remember being hit by the tone of the character. Because, in the series it's like, and it's all comedy, but he doesn't... What I like is that they didn't have him do the thing here. They had him just go, Rangers, quietly, almost supplicatingly. And it's a bit of a shock to see Alpha in a very serious and dark movie. I know it sounds weird, but it's just... Well, let's be honest. This movie is dark. I mean, come on, they murdered Zordon. And Ivan was going to murder every person in Angel Grove that was below probably the age of 15. Well, no, I should say below the age of 18, because for some reason he added in for those above 18 who could drink and drive and vote. Jeez. I mean, with that sort of mentality, he could make Prime Minister of Canada or President of the U.S. Just kidding. Oh, man. I'm not going to even joke about politics here. I've already hit my quota for the day. Over on Substack, that is. But the thing with Alpha is he is a cheerful character. He's kind of the Jar Jar Binks or C-3PO of the series. But what I like is that he's put in a more serious role, in a more tragic one, where he has to try to comfort Zordon, and they actually give him something of an arc, which this is almost unheard of. Well, Alpha got some decent arcs on occasion in the actual TV series. Because Power Rangers, I will grant you, did a lot more with him than, say, Lucas ever did with C-3PO and R2-D2. And it's just Alpha... I like that the Rangers do ask him, like, Alpha, are you all right? And whatnot, and I'm fine. But the tone isn't the playful one, like, because, Alpha almost seems like a child sometimes. But here he's like, I'm fine, Rangers. Like, he's the adult telling them, never you mind about that. There's a seriousness to the character.
Yeah, and it's a little jarring, and honestly, Alpha has always been the one that was always hoping and having faith.
He's the butt monkey.
But the butt monkey... I'm glad that the writers understood that it was not the time and place for an icebreaker.
No. And to be quite honest, there's very few of those in this movie.
And this is how serious the writers of the movie took things.
And it's something I really don't like about the MCU, because they... Like, I don't need to... Like, the fact that it's like, we have Thanos, I'm going to make everything disappear. Getcha! Dude, time and place, bro. Like, in a movie, the MCU should have been serious, because, I'll be honest, I did like the first Iron Man movie, but that one had one too many jokes, for my taste. but at least it took itself a little seriously, such as the scene between Tony and Pepper, which Downey Jr. did better acting in that scene than Gwyneth Paltrow, who really sunk that scene. But Tony, like his speech where he says, there is no, no, there's only the next mission. There's only that. I have to know that I'm alive for a reason. That whole scene, I like that one. But you never saw that again in any MCU movie. It just became, it just became one joke after another. And this is why I think that Batman Begins and Dark Knight actually beat the MCU. It's because they actually knew to take themselves seriously. And I'm even seeing some people going back and watching Dark Knight Rises and taking that more seriously than even Avengers Endgame and whatnot. And I'm surprised because Dark Knight Rises has a lot of problems with it.
It's why I can appreciate a movie like Daredevil.
Yeah, that one was good. It knew that it had to lean on the Christian element and on the spiritual element rather than whatever the hell, I guess whatever Hulk movie it was, like numbered one, or the Iron Man 2, 3, 4, 5 million, whatever. But Power Rangers took the moment seriously. And I like that it's not Zordon who conveys knowledge, but Alpha who conveys the knowledge. On the distant planet of Phaedos, there is a secret power there that could help them save Zordon. And that's, that's all you really want from the scene. You want them to be given the quest to save Zordon. And it's just... Now, you do have Alpha who gives them the warning. All who have tried for it have failed. Well, that's comforting. And as we're going to see, what I really like is when we finally do get to Phaedos, you have corpses littered everywhere. This was a nice touch. Because, in most stories out there, it's like, oh, the entire planet is littered with the corpses of those who have failed. Yeah, and they don't show it except maybe in one scene. Power Rangers, literally every bloody scene on Phaedos. Littered with cadavers. It's like, wow, somebody took this seriously.
But it's interesting that how Alpha recognized, even if it's futile hope, it's hope. It's something.
Yeah, it's the only chance they've got. And of course, you have Rocky who tells him, well, we have to try, Alpha. Which, this is the beginning of the part of the story where Rocky stops being funny. Previously, he was one of the funniest characters in the movie. But it's almost like the mask falls. And he's done being funny. And, I think Rocky does get a underrated arc in the movie. He goes from the class clown, like Zack, to being the most serious character, acting more like Jason from this point on. And I noticed, like, on my last viewing in the movie, when, with the fight scenes and whatnot, he gets to be more impulsive after this point. Like, he does actually do more stupid stunts and whatnot. Kind of like Jason. I'm not saying Jason's moves are stupid. No, actually, some of them are really cool. Like, remember, I think he jumps into the car and comes out the other side. That was freaking cool. Remember that? Jason did that. That was cool. Sorry, I'm never going to forget that scene. But the thing with Jason is he was impulsive in the same way that Leo could be. Rocky is the cool and calculated Red Ranger. He can be impulsive, but he combines it with cunning and knowledge. He abandons cunning in favor of just impulsive rage from here on out. It's interesting. They took the character in a different direction. And it's one that I really do approve of. Now, from what I understand, Alpha's going to have to download a morphing gem into, or at least put that into the energy core and use that to power up a teleportation to the planet of Phaedos, which apparently is it's in between dimensions, as we later find out. But this morphing gem, we've never really heard of before. But it sounds like a morphing crystal, or like a Zeo crystal or something. It might be that it's an infant stone, so that it's actually there for powering up, morphing later on. So Alpha just basically blasted one in order to get them to Phaedos, but it means sacrificing an invaluable asset. Because that could have probably one day helped morph a Ranger.
And it was probably one of the only things keeping...
Well, they don't have much energy left in the command center. So he's, like I said, he's grabbing an infant morphing crystal and just putting it in there to, as one last ditch hope.
Mm-hmm. Because...
And we know it's an impulsive act and reckless, because if they stop teleporting halfway through, they're dead.
But what else could they do?
Yeah, that's fair. They've never taken a risk like this in some ways before. They've taken a lot of risks, but this is whole new level, whole new territory. And it's also sacrificing invaluable. Because how valuable are those morphine crystals?
Yep.
And if the morphine gem is an infant one, as I'm theorizing, hot damn, you're going to lose a Ranger. Like, what I mean by that is a potential future Ranger. And, of course, we have Kim who urges the Rangers to just do it, as there's some hesitancy there. I don't blame them. And Tommy gives them a small pep talk. Remember, we may not have our powers, but we're still Power Rangers. Which, I guess, but what's a Power Ranger who can't morph? But on the other hand, they don't have time to think about that. They've got to get out there. And Alpha's first attempt, after trying to supply some measure of comfort, it fizzles out immediately. So good to know the gem is not working correctly. That's comforting. Of course, the minute Alpha manages to stabilize it and send them packing off to Phaedos, the command center shuts down, and we have Alpha who jumps a little, and that's when they do the ay, but it's a lot like lower. They don't have him doing it in the high-pitched voice, they do it in a lower-pitched voice, which is appropriate, I guess. I'm not keen on the ay here, but okay, I can live with it.
Yeah, because I think they wanted to keep that one tick, but the way...
The tone of the movie doesn't fit.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, on the positive side, we get a shot of Zordon who's passed out, not looking too good. He looks a little pale. I couldn't resist that joke. But yeah, it's a pretty grim scene. I remember being about 4 or 5 years old and just being shocked. It was kind of like seeing Mufasa dead. It was like, oh my gosh. At least for me, that was. And it's... Of course, we're going to have the slightly more shocking, in some ways. Not as shocking, but more humorous scene that will follow. Which... they're still kind of shaking things up. It's a good scene. Overall, it's a good scene. Well, this movie doesn't seem to have any bad scenes. For the most part. And, heck, I'll even include the guy doing the swim. That's a great scene. They should have that in every movie. Star Wars Episode 3... Shawshank Redemption... Moon... From 2008. Yes, Moon should have it. Avengers Endgame, Dark Knight, Batman Begins, because that's what was missing from The Death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Do the swim! Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't crack these jokes, but in all seriousness, this is a pretty dark scene.
Yeah.
One of the better ones.
And it raises the stakes. We see the gravity. Because Alpha used pretty much
everything.
Probably including some of the minor life support that Zordon's getting.
Yeah, because he needs to. Yeah, I could see that. And this is where the Rangers become great Rangers. Because a good Ranger will put like will put their happiness on the line or something. A great ranger will put everything on the line for another. And they're putting everything. Their lives, their hopes, even like whatever chances they have at anything in life on just to save Zordon. And it's the tone of this movie was dark, but it worked. And it worked so well, this movie became, from what I understand, a cult classic. And let's be honest, the X-Men First Class series with their Apocalypse depiction and even the MCU of Thanos basically just copied off of this movie. And I know I keep beating that drum, but I'm going to keep beating it. So get used to it. But anyways, don't forget to check out our crowdfund. Check out our Royal Road account with all the fantasy fiction we write. Have yourselves a great day. And like and subscribe because we're well on our way now. We're growing again. That's great. We've got a lot of projects on the way, especially on some of our other YouTube channels, which you'll see when it drops. We'll probably end up linking to those when they come out. But for now, we're just happy to do the Power Ranger thing over here because I do want to make sure we got to end the shot for shot analysis podcast because this thing's been going on forever. And I think we got discouraged when GDF passed because it was hard to want to keep going when
he was the Power Ranger.
Yeah, and when he passed away, it was like, what's the point of the channel?
All of a sudden.
Yeah, not to say that the channel didn't have a purpose, but it's just it's like, well, part of the hope was to someday meet him or something. And it's like, well, that's not going to happen for a long, long time. So, okay. I guess that's it. You know what I mean? But we're back and we're in a better mental space, I guess, with this show. So, the reviews and the podcast will continue, but we're focusing on Shot for Shot for a while because this was our best podcast on this channel. And I'd rather just keep on focusing on the movie and analyzing and commenting and whatnot because, it's so much more fun. And then we'll talk about all the other Rangers like Leo, Mike, Corbett, Lightspeed Rescue and whatnot. I want to get into all that, but it might take a bit. For now, we're going to focus on Shot for Shot. So yeah, like and subscribe to stay tuned for the next episode. And remember, Rangers, may the power protect you!